Welcome to our Youth Leadership Program Second Year Term 1 workshop. The topic is Introduction to Health and Safety in the Workplace. At Gym Sports Management, we are committed to complying to the relevant workplace health and safety legislation. We are committed to fulfilling our health and safety responsibilities as persons conducting a business or undertakings, PCBU, by providing a safe working environment, safe systems and a safe venue, equipment, information and training. We believe a safe working culture is the responsibility of every staff member, and this can best be achieved through cooperative efforts of employees. Our reference is our health and safety policy and procedure, which you can request from our team at any time. Under the Workplace Health and Safety Act, terms are not specifically defined in order to recognise there are many different types of working relationships. So the PCBU conducts a business or undertaking alone or with others. The business or undertaking can operate for profit or not for profit. The definition of a PCBU focuses on the work arrangements and the relationships to carry out the work. Although employers are PCBUs, the term PCBU is much broader than this and may include a corporation, an association, partners in a partnership, a sole trader, and a volunteer organisation which employs people to carry out work. As a worker, you are considered to be a worker if you carry out work for a PCBU, such as an employee, a contractor or subcontractor, an employee of a contractor or subcontractor, an employee of a labour hire company, an apprentice or trainee, a student gaining work experience, an outworker, and a volunteer. You can also be a PCBU and a worker if you carry out work for another PCBU. Reasonable care. This term describes the standard of care that workers, including volunteers, must meet. It means doing what is a responsible person would do in the circumstance, having regard to things like the person's knowledge, the person's role, the person's skills and the resources available to them, the person's qualifications, the information the person has, the consequences to health and safety of a failure for them to act in the circumstances. Reasonably practical. This term is used to qualify or limit some work, health and safety duties. If something is reasonably practical, it means it is or was at a particular time reasonably able to be done, taking into account the likelihood of the hazard or risk concerned occurring, the degree of harm that might result from the hazard, what the person concerned knows or ought reasonably to know about the hazard or risk and ways of eliminating or minimising the risk, the availability and suitability of ways to eliminate or minimise the risk, and the cost of eliminating or minimising the risk. Duties of workers. While at work, a worker must take reasonable care of his or her own health and safety and take reasonable care that his or her acts or omissions to act do not adversely affect the health and safety of other persons, and comply, so far as the worker is reasonably able, with any reasonable instruction that is given by the person conducting the business or undertaking to allow the person to comply with this act, and cooperate with any reasonable policy and procedure of the person conducting the business or undertaking relating to health and safety in the workplace that has been notified to workers. At Gym Sports, our safety rules are as follows. Participants are to remain in the spectator areas until instructor calls for the class, keeping entrance and stairs and ramps clear at all times in case of emergency, looking after the equipment and adhering to equipment rules, wearing suitable clothing and no jewellery, all food and drink to remain in foyer, drink bottles are allowed, and treat and speak to all others with care and respect. For the foam pit and trampoline safety rules, need to ensure that one person at a time is on the trampoline. that the area is clear before entering the foam pit, i.e. no one is in the foam pit, to land only on feet or bottom when entering the foam pit. Flips and saltos in the air may only be performed under the direction and supervision of a qualified coach. Double salto skills require a readiness assessment record to be completed by a qualified coach. Landing in the foam pit on your head or stomach can result in serious injury and should be avoided at all times. Exit the trampoline safely, stop and climb off the side. Do not jump off or onto flyaways. Our guidelines for the use of the bungee. One person at a time, clear area and make sure it's equipment free. Activities that are conducted appropriate for the participant. Ensure belt is secure, check carabiners are locked. Coach directed activities only. Ensure looped on wall for secure lock on rope. And ensure appropriate tension on bungee for participant. Onlookers need to be seated away and to the side. Risk identification. Think of a potential risk in the gym and discuss the below. You guys can do this in your own time. Think of a description of a hazard. Think of what were the causes or what are the causes. And think of what actions can be taken to remove or minimise the risk. On our Gym Sports Management Australia YouTube channel, we have a risk reporting procedure which you can actually go and look at, which shows you how to report a risk online. Key safety points. Key safety points are the things that you say to the participants to ensure they remain safe. For example, one at a time at the trampoline. Have a think of what are some examples of key safety points. And when communicating key safety points to participants, what are some important tips or things to keep in mind? One of the examples is to ensure that your words, the words that you use, are words that the kids can understand based on their age. On our Gym Sports Management Australia YouTube site, we also have our injury policy and procedure. You can go to that site and follow through how to report an injury online. Finally, thank you for listening to our health and safety workshop. Always monitor safety and address risks. Communicate your key safety points clearly and report injuries.